best car insurance companies for 2026. If you haven't watched our cheapest car insurance company for 2026, this is the opposite. This is where we talk about the best companies. And you're going to find a huge difference between the number 1 and number 10. We're going to go over some of the specifics of why these companies are the best and help you decide if they're the right fit and do they deserve to get your cold hard cash. Now, there's a lot of opinions. We're looking at different companies. I've got my notes right behind the camera so I can cheat some of the things that I've looked up. But if you look at companies like Forbes, they're the Forbes advisors. They're saying, I think Insurance dot something or other, but they say Travelers. Your NerdWallet is going to say Amica. Your Yahoo Finance is going to say American Family. And it's not just because these sites are necessarily wrong. I don't want to say it legally. Don't sue me. There's a lot of advertisements around insurance and getting your business. We want to know who's actually the best company. It's not just the lowest price. It's the best claims experience, who has the best app, who has the best bundling. And if you are military or any specialty group, then that can weigh some of these winners for your situation. So before we do that, what are we comparing everything to? It's the national average. The cost of full coverage car insurance in 2026 lands somewhere between $2,350 to $2,550. So we'll say $2,300 to $2,600. That's the yearly cost according to a lot of these research sources like Auto Insurance and US News and Insured Better, all those companies, they're saying that's the average. The minimum average, if you're not looking for comprehensive and collision, that's what we're calling full coverage today, and you're looking at about $722 to $912 per year. Remember those numbers because we're going to talk about where these companies compare, but drivers who switch providers on average, so if you're shopping around, you're likely going to save about $400 to $500 per year if you can find the right company that's the right fit for you. They're going to take your profile, your insurance score, your credit, your cars, your location, all those things. That's your profile here. And you need to shop those across some of these companies. We're going to tell you which companies are the best ones to look across. The national rankings have evaluated that 15 to 20 plus companies are using a mix of what's called real premium data. That means that today we can actually compare what their actual premiums are in the average 10,000 foot view, but it gives us a really clean idea of whether these companies are going to be fits. So let's start with the search for cheap. That's the first thing everybody wants to know. I have a whole video on it, but if you're looking at cheap, Geico's the most widely available company. And they just released independent agents availability to sell them. So you don't have to go to Geico directly anymore. You can call up your local independent agent. And if they have access to them, then you're going to be able to get a quote with them across them and several other companies as well. 2 for the cheapest is Travelers frequently comes out as a single cheapest option across multiple drivers. They are a better fit for home and auto. So if you're combining those together, that's really their sweet spot. And according to the 2026 rate analysis, their average is about $2,008 per year, not the $2,400 to $2,500 that we were just talking about. So they're below the national average according to companies like NerdWallet. We're going to talk about USAA. They're typically the cheapest if you're military. So if you're any type of government direct related or have family members, they have some really good rates, but you're going to want to watch that review I did first because there are some concerns that you're going to have. But according to that 2026 analysis, they're closer to that $1,300 to $1,500 per year. So you're going to see a little bit more competitive for the right situations. That's those perfect scenarios. But remember, that's restricted to military members. You got to be a veteran. It's immediate families. So we did a standalone review on that. You can go back and watch that. I'll link that at the end. Okay, that's great. Cheapest. I'm looking for the best. That's what the title was. Let's look at the next level, the cheapest and the best. So how do we combine the two together and give you those? The takeaways, Geico and Travelers are the strongest still. There's starting points. They're pure price shopping. They allow you to go direct if you want to go direct. You can go through an agent if you want to go through an agent. Those are the best of both worlds. Their quotes, they're about $400 to $500 less per year if you find the agencies that do that. I'm honestly seeing that in our agency to where, especially with the homeowners insurance, we're almost cutting our own customers' bills in half by looking at some of those options. But Mark, I have a claim. I need to understand, like, are they going to still be competitive? No, they won't. Those are best, cheapest if you're a good fit for them. That's the good driver. If you have a claim, there are a few companies, according to JD Power, that's ranked number 1. You're going to start looking at companies like NJM. I think that's New Jersey Manufacturers. Correct me if I'm wrong. 90% sure that's accurate. But they're ranked at 731 out of 1,000. So they're really close to a really good score. And then Liberty Mutual's third. So you're going to see them come in at about 730 out of 1,000. Also, Erie Insurance. Those are all working with independent agents. I think New Jersey manufacturers, it's separate, it's on its own. You have to look them up yourself. Your Liberty Mutual works with agents, and your Erie Insurance companies work with independent agents. But according to the Crash Network Insurance Card Report, those guys are ranking 4th and 5th companies as surveyed. So you're going to have a really good fit if you have accidents. Now, Amica is also in the running as well for other companies that show up consistently in this category. So if you're looking for that last option, you've ran through these guys, then they are ranked above the claim satisfaction. So if you want to protect yourself in a future accident, they are B+, so they're not as strongly stable as financial. They're really good option and a really good company to look at as one of your backups. What's the trade-off with going with them is your Erie Insurance and your Amica, I'm pretty sure it's Amica. They're smaller companies. So they're less universally available. They're not going to be in every state. You're not looking at like a Geico or Progressive, where those are nations, sometimes even worldwide companies. Your Erie is particularly only in those subsets of those states. So they're only going to be competitive in certain sections of those states. That means that you just got to shop a few different options. That's where an independent agent really kicks in the best, because if you're shopping for insurance, you need to talk to an independent agent. They work with Erie, they work with Geico, they work with Progressive, they work with Nationwide, they work with Liberty Mutual. At least they should if they're doing it. They work with Travelers, they work with all of those major companies. They should have at least 6 or 7 companies that they work with that are very competitive for you. They take your data, they take your profile, they ask you all the questions, they look for those discounts for you, and you don't pay more. That's the beauty of it. You're paying the same whether you go directly to the company yourself versus if you go to an independent agent who checks all the other companies. That's the route that most people need to take. If you are shopping for insurance, I'll put a link in the description below where you can work with an independent agent that can do what we just talked about. If you're younger, you care more about the digital part, and I don't care about my digital part because I'm set it and forget it. I am living the life like you guys are. I don't want to look at my insurance. I don't want my insurance to go up. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to have an accident. I want that safety net to be there, but I never want to fall into that safety net. If there's a $300 claim, I'm going to fix it myself. All of those things are true, but I like digital as well. If I need to go register my car and I forgot, I did this year, a few weeks ago, I just ran to the kiosk, I typed in, I looked at my pictures, I pulled up my VINs, right on my app. So your app tools make a huge difference, especially if you're filing claims. Nowadays with AI and everyone's trying to verify if these are fake images, things like that, they're starting to run these checks and they're making you use their software so that they can verify that some of these claims aren't fraudulent. So, which companies are the best digital experience? Progressive is probably always going to be the best digital company. They're a little frustrating on the agent side, but you don't care about that. You don't need to worry about that. That's the agent side. But they're also easy to use. They're very technology forward, and it's even on their website. They talk about how they always want to be an advancement of technology with insurance. So they're very transparent, they're online tools, they have quote comparisons, they have digital claims, their wide range of all the coverages. If you're looking at tech, you're probably looking at Progressive. For that people first thought, everyone thinks of State Farm because that's what they are great with commercials. They're actually pretty decent. They have good apps and good software. They are ranked one of the nearly top or one of the better companies for apps. Now, they're better in states like California if they're still there. I know they've been talking about leaving, and some of the Southeast states. So if you are in those areas and you do like the digital, then your State Farm might be a good option to look at. If you want a real live person, that's another way to talk to somebody, not go to the 1-800 numbers, then you're going to have that meaningful, at least connection with somebody. The only downfall to that piece is they only sell State Farm. So if they're not competitive and it's not a good fit, then yeah, you just move on to the next option. You have to decide if that's important to you. If the app is the first most important, then there you go. Go to, honestly, Geico's pretty good, but they're all getting good with technology. Progressive is the best in my opinion. And then you've got State Farm, which is the next runner up, which is also going to be really good. If you're looking at bundling, now we're talking about the best. Who's going to combine? Can I get my boat? Can I get my motorcycle? Can I get my house? Are you going to give me a deal if I bring you this whole package of my insurance? If you're looking at that, Liberty Mutual is frequently one of the best. Their in 2026 analysis found that the drivers who paid around $2,200 a year for a standalone auto could pay about $1,800 a year if they bundle their home or their renter's insurance. That's over 18% in savings. That's about $400 per year. State Farm and auto owners are also frequently highlighted for those. They have really big multiple lines discounts, so those don't necessarily knock them out of the running either. The honest caveat is Liberty Mutual standalone auto rates before bundling tend to run higher. Geico and Progressive are a lot better. That's why I have some of my clients that are with Progressive for auto and Liberty for home, or Travelers for home and Geico for auto, whichever one's the best fit. My main focus is giving them the right coverage and then finding a company that is going to be a good fit for them. Now, tech-wise, if you love the tech and the billing is easy and all that, some of these guys, keep in mind, the Progressive and the State Farms, those are going to be your lean-to on the tech side. If you already know you want a bundle, then that's the option I would lean towards, is talk to an independent agent, make sure that they can quote you with some options, and just see what's the best fit for you. And have them bundle it, let them know, because they'll be excited to do it, because they know that if you're bundling it and they find a good fit, you're going to stay longer. Those customers tend to stay longer in the agency without having to shop, because honestly, bundling's a pain. If you have to like shop this and shop that, and anything reshopping can be a pain unless you go directly to someone that can do it for you. Now, who's the best regional and independent agent options? Auto Owners consistently ranks as one of the top regional insurance carriers. That's the good and the bad to them, because if they're regional, that means they're not everywhere. According to insurance.com, they scored a 4.5 or 4.55 out of 5. They're citing that they're below average rates, and that's one of the key pieces that they're being competitive with, is being the cheaper option for the members that can join them. Like I said, you'll have to watch the review at the end to go through that. Now, American Family topped Yahoo Finance's ranking in 2026 as well. So tying those two companies together, those are some of your full coverage options that are worth checking out. They're about $150-ish a month less, according to some of the comparables. They also do rideshare, so they allow drivers that are doing Uber or Lyft, and they have the driver recovery and accident ticket option, so you can get the accident forgiveness. All of those pieces that you would want to have on a policy are available with them. The trade-off, it's consistent across all three of these options, is none of them are available nationwide. Like I said, Auto Owners, Erie, and American Family, they sell exclusively through independent. Auto Owners does. I know Erie does. Let me know in the comments below if you're an agent or if you just are with American Family, if you bought it through a local agent versus somebody that could shop them across multiple companies. That's an independent agent. So I'll have to double check the American Family piece, but I'm pretty sure they're direct. So you have to go directly to them, or only an agent that can only sell their product. According to my notes, it says that they work with independent, but I'm not 100% sure. You can shop with multiple carriers. That's the beauty of it. If you are checking, hey, I need to get American Family, hey, I need to check Auto Owners, or hey, I need to check Erie, most of your independent agents are working with them. So then they can check Nationwide as well, and Liberty Mutual as well, and they can check Progressive. So they can give you the slew of options that you have just by you trying to check the one that you wanted to check. The takeaway for that is the regional name comes across when you search your zip code. Don't dismiss it. They're smaller companies. They're not in as many commercials. They have really good, strong satisfaction and less complaints. So you're going to see some of these companies show up on your radar more lately because people are looking for the better companies. Okay, Mark, that's great, but I want to make sure if these smaller guys are coming out, who's the strongest financially? Now, here's where an AM Best report, this is a company that ranks companies based on their financial stability. Doesn't mean they necessarily pay claims quite well. There's a couple of these guys in here that are getting lawsuits, so we got to be a little bit careful. In general, if you're looking for what's called an A+, so it's like think of your grading in high school, A, B, C, A minus, B minus, now there's an A+. And if you see in 2 pluses, then you've got extra credit, right? So the A to A minus, those are excellent. If they're A minus or better, then honestly, you're doing good. In most agencies, for ours, for example, we only work with A rated or better. So if that's the case that we want to do, is we want to make sure if they're going to have a claim, it's paid. We don't want the headache of all of those things. Again, doesn't mean they're going to pay it. It just means they have the money to pay it. If they're lower than that, then they're struggling financially. Travelers, USAA, and some of those other top, those are A++ companies. Those are the companies that have the funds to pay the claims, and they have the resources to outsource and give discounts and all of those things. So that's a really good thing. Progressive holds an A+ ranking, so they're in the excellent scoring. Honestly, according to the 2026 ranking, State Farm, they did drop. They keep going up and down. They go from an A to an A-. I think they even almost went to a B+, so they're struggling a little bit because they're the big guy. They're the ones that insure the most people, And so they're starting to see some of these financial waivers that they didn't expect with a lot of the previous weather and everything. All right, Mark, just tell me who to choose. That's where it gets a little complicated because, again, you have this profile. Your neighbor literally pays a different rate than you. And that's what people struggle with. And it's like, why can't we just get the same rate? They have different insurance score, which is credit and then claims and accidents. They have different number of drivers. They have different cars than you have. They have different trims. They're driving the Model Y and you're driving the Model S and all the different things that can happen. There's more claims on your side of the street than there are on his side of the street or her side of the street. So the companies that are worth switching if you want to save the $400 to $500 a year. If you're looking at who's the best option, here's what I personally would say. And this is going to be rogue from the script that I would do. From my experience, we're in 12 states. So we do from Texas to Michigan to Indiana to Ohio to Virginia, or in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, all of those states that we're in. Yeah, probably half of the states I would say that we're doing insurance with. From what I found is Liberty Mutual is a best fits all. If you don't have a lot of claims, actually a couple claims, 2 or more, you're probably not even going to look at them. They're wanting the best fit customer. Their direct competitor is going to be auto owners. And that's a company that is competitive, similar situation, a lot of claims, a lot of things, then you're not necessarily going to be a good fit for that situation. The next up and the biggest competitor to those two is going to be Nationwide. Nationwide, I believe, I'm going to make another video here shortly, I believe they just got the highest satisfaction survey across all the companies. So they're paying claims where they shouldn't pay claims, in my opinion. They're covering things that they want the survey high. They want customers to feel comfortable. They're really trying to grow, and that's a huge piece. Your direct competitors outside of those are your bundle companies. If you're looking for more of the non-bundled, give me auto or give me home, or let's just check the breakups if I do the home here and the auto here and all those things. Travelers is crushing home right now. They're just coming out hitting heavy. Auto Owners is very competitive with homes too. So those are the two companies I would look for there. Nationwide is competitive in the right areas. Liberty Mutual is competitive if the home's really good. They do the 3D images and they use AI to check the house and the roof and all that stuff. So if your house is in really good condition, you're in a really good neighborhood, Liberty Mutual is going to come out and knock that price in half. I literally wrote a policy for a customer of mine that was paying almost $2,000 a year for a condo insurance, or that was a regular house. And then he bought a new house and you're like, oh, this is going to be crazy high. It was a third of that. It was $700 something a year, where I'm paying almost $3,000 a year. And I'm like, man, it's the neighborhood, it's the location, it's the age of the home. All those things make a difference. So in that case, those are your options there. When you're going outside of that and you're saying, who's the best anything? Progressive's coming in hot. Geico is looking to grow. Those two companies alone, they're the direct competitors to each other, so those guys are fighting it out. If you are in a state that does New Jersey manufacturers, then I would definitely look at them, because those three are going to be hot and heavy. There's also technically Allstate. They really don't show up in rankings much anymore. They're kind of hiding. I don't know if they're just comfortable or what's happening, but they're sort of pivoting to a company called National General, so NatGen. Their product is called NatGen 360, if I'm not mistaken. They're not very competitive like they used to be, but those are their competitors. Those are the four that I'm looking at for your average person. Decent credit, maybe a claim, less than 5. Those are your good fits. And then I would put USAA, honestly, in between those, so that's an option too. Your biggest piece that I would say that if you're high risk and you're like, I got 2 DUIs, I had 4 tickets, I had 3 at-fault accidents, stuff like that, you're gonna be more local search. There's companies, like in Michigan, we have a company called Cure Auto, and they're more competitive for that. Yes, Geico can be competitive, but you're going to look for those specialty. If you can't get your house insured, we have something called Michigan Basic, and that's a company that you would go to if there's almost nobody that will take your house and you can't afford it, all of those things. There are those scenarios. There's a lot of them out there. So there's local independent companies that are appointed by the state in those situations. Those are not going to show up on any of these reports. I don't have the answer for you there. So if you are high risk, that's unfortunately going to be a lot more research that you're going to have to do. The most honest thing that I can tell you after cross-checking several major companies is that the best it comes down to there's no right answer. This isn't a list to give you one single company, although I have my favorites. I don't want to impress those opinions upon you, but those are statistically, in my opinion, from what I've researched and can tell you of my experience with them. The bigger piece that I see where people get frustrated the most is when they get a company, even if it's one of the best ones, it could be the highest claims, nationwide customer satisfaction. They get in there, they get an agent, they're working with them, everything feels okay. They have a claim and it's not covered. That's the worst scenario you can have. This is all a safety net. If you don't have the right coverages when you fall, is that net going to catch you? If not, it's going to break open and now you're open to lawsuits, you're paying $10,000 out of pocket, $50,000 out of pocket. All those scenarios happen. That's where the negative comes through. The biggest key piece to any of this is finding, yes, we want the best company, but what coverages do you carry? That's the bigger piece. If you don't know what coverage is, we've got our Car Insurance 101 that goes a little bit further in depth on what coverages most people or you should be carrying. If you already know all this and you're gonna go with one of these companies, it won't hurt to check some discount options. I've got a discount here video that will go further in depth on discounts that are available to you. I wanna hear your thoughts and opinions on the comments below on whether you found some of these companies to be competitive and whether you had good or bad experiences with them. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.